Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and this time I will be talking about my 2025 predictions for Nintendo. This will be phase 1 of 2. I'm intending on releasing both phases during this weekend. Phase 1 hopefully on Saturday, phase 2 on Sunday. And for this first phase, the focus is on Nintendo's epic lead up to the launch of Nintendo Switch 2. How they're going to handle themselves in the first half of 2025. And so there is a lot to discuss here. But before going forward, let me take this moment to ask that if you do enjoy my content, to please subscribe and hit the notification bell, and if you're unsure, watch through this video and then decide. So going into January, the one thing we know about for sure is that we will be seeing Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. And my prediction regarding this game is that it's going to come out and reviews are going to be pretty solid. There has been some controversy surrounding this game. A lot of us have been taking a close look at this game, and we've been noticing a lot of subtle details that seem a bit off or not as well developed as we would have expected for an HD version on Switch compared to the prior versions on 3DS and Nintendo Wii. I think once this game comes out, for the most part, a lot of those subtle details are going to look pretty good. Will there still be some little things here and there that we're going to scratch our heads at? Probably, but these are things that you would have to be really overanalyzing the game for. Most people aren't going to notice it, and for the most part, people are going to think that this is a solid remaster for Donkey Kong Country Returns, and it's going to be a good game to play this January. But I know most of you are not really thinking about Donkey Kong right now. You're more so curious on how Nintendo's going to handle the reveal for Nintendo Switch 2. And there have been a lot of rumors about the Switch 2 reveal happening at some point in January. And there's even been a lot of conversation that because of all the different accessory leaks that have been happening, that Nintendo might feel more pressure to bring the reveal sooner than later. Officially, what we know is that Nintendo intends to have some sort of significant announcement regarding the Switch 2 before the end of the fiscal year on March 31st, 2025. Now, technically, this announcement doesn't necessarily have to be a reveal, but we think it most likely is a reveal, especially because Nintendo has already had announcements about Switch 2 since its initial announcement or acknowledgement of existence, and those were announcements. When they confirmed backwards compatibility and the transfer of Switch Online accounts, that was an announcement. But that is not the announcement that they are referring to that will happen before the end of the fiscal year. Most of us think it's likely going to be a reveal. I agree, it's going to be a reveal, and I don't think we're going to have to wait until March. Do I think that the rumors suggesting January are totally true? I think there is a chance of that, but I'm just going to predict that it will happen before the end of February. So I'm acknowledging that there is a strong possibility we could see the reveal in January, but I'm also open to it happening in February. And of course, these are my predictions. I could be wrong, and maybe it happens in March. But I am going to predict before March 1st, we will see an official trailer for the Nintendo Switch 2. But I will say the timing of this reveal is going to be somewhat tricky, because there's a few other presentations I'm expecting in February. There is likely going to be another Pokemon Presents, as there typically is towards the end of February for Pokemon Day, and there we will see our first footage of Pokemon Legends ZA. And with it also a release date for the game, which by the way I do not think will be coming out until the second half of 2025. But I also expect to see some kind of direct in February, at the very least a partner showcase, but it might be something a bit bigger than that, because there are still some games we need to learn about that come out in the first half of the year before Nintendo has a bigger presentation in the summer and also the release of the Switch 2. So I'm almost leaning in the direction of there being some kind of Nintendo Direct that isn't a partner. Maybe a Nintendo Direct Mini, maybe it's just a full-on Nintendo Direct for Switch 1. Something like this might still be on the table, and as I go over my predictions for what I expect for the first half of 2025, you might kind of see what I mean here. But with both a Direct for Switch 1 and a Pokemon Presents for just Pokemon things in general happening in February, I think it would be reasonable to maybe be leaning in the direction of a Switch 2 reveal in January. Maybe that's how things will pan out, we shall see. However, in February specifically, we do not have any sort of published Nintendo game that is currently announced to be coming out then. And at this point, they're not going to announce something that's going to be a retail release to come out so quickly. What I think will happen is that in February, we won't just have a partner, there will be a Nintendo Direct Mini or a full-on general, and there, they will shadow drop Metroid Prime 2 Echoes Remastered. And then a few weeks later, they will release the retailed version of Metroid Prime 2. And I think this will make a lot of sense because I also think that during the Switch 2 reveal, which will happen before this Nintendo Direct, we will already have gotten a very exciting look at Metroid Prime 4 that has enhancements for Switch 2. Of course, the game would still be coming to Switch 1, and they would remind us of that multiple times throughout the year. Now, moving on to March, we already know that Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition is coming out during this time, but I will predict that the extra content that they've been talking about to come to the game will be another epilogue story. It will help to tie up some of the loose ends at the end of the Xenoblade Chronicles X main story, and I expect that there will be some kind of new area to explore. Moving on to April, things are going to start to get a little hectic here. It's in this month I think we will see the release for Metroid Prime 3 Corruption Remastered. This version will not be shadow dropped, it will have been announced during the Direct back in February. But another game that will be coming out this month will be Kirby Planet Robobot, another game that would have been announced during this February Direct. But that's not all for April. We will also get a bigger, full-on Switch 2 presentation, a Switch 2 Direct, where there'll be a lot more details about everything we need to know about the console, the launch games, and more things to come down the road later on in the year. I'm sure some of you are wondering when I'm going to predict that the console will be coming out. I will be getting to that very shortly. But first, I need to talk about May, because in the month of May, there's still going to be a lot more things to talk about with Switch 2. There are going to be hands-on events where we will be able to play the Nintendo Switch 2. There will be public events, there will be press events, and so there's going to be a massive media blowout regarding Switch 2 in this lead up to its launch not too long after the month of May. But during this time, there will be another Switch game that will be coming out, and this will be the long-rumored remake of Fire Emblem: The Genealogy of the Holy War. This remake isn't going to be a simple remake, it's going to be something that's going to have like a 3D visual overhaul here. It's going to look something more like Fire Emblem Three Houses or Fire Emblem Engage, but with the story of Genealogy of the Holy War. So it's going to effectively be a new game for most people. And gameplay wise, it's still going to probably feel fresh to like 99.9% of all people playing the game. It's going to be a decent deal. But then we enter the month of June. This is the month that I'm going to predict that the Nintendo Switch 2 will come out. Would I like it to come out sooner? Sure. But when you think about the things that I think will be coming out throughout this year, there will be plenty to play, there will be plenty to be excited about, there will be plenty to talk about. If we see a Switch 2 reveal in January, if we have games like Prime 2 and Xenoblade Chronicles X to play in the meanwhile, and then we have a big presentation in April, and then hands-on events in May, there's going to be so much to talk about regarding Switch 2, so many Switch 1 games to still play. We're going to be fine. And then come June, Nintendo's going to be absolutely ready to hit it out of the park. So what happens in June with the Nintendo Switch 2? What will be the day one launch lineup? Now, I think it's probably safer to predict 3D Mario or Mario Kart to be the launch title. We've even seen accessories for the Switch 2 wheel using the Switch 2 Joy-Cons. So when you see things like that, it definitely feels like it might make sense to even predict Mario Kart to be the launch title. And I am very open to those things happening. I'd be very happy if it was Mario Kart. I might even prefer that over anything else. But maybe I'm too trusting of where this rumor is coming from, but there's something about it that has me believing that this is what's going to happen. The launch titles for Nintendo Switch 2 will be Nintendo Switch Sports Resort and Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is going to have significant visual enhancements for the Nintendo Switch 2. It's a game that Nintendo will be doing a significant media blowout for, a big marketing campaign throughout the first half of the year with Prime 2 in February, with Prime 3 in April, with the art book coming out in the summer, and then obviously the Switch 2 launching in June, if my prediction is correct here. It's going to be a big moment for Metroid, and it's going to surprise a lot of people. Some of you watching may not like the idea of Metroid Prime 4 being the launch title. Maybe you're not that much of a Metroid fan. Maybe you're more so a Zelda or Mario fan. But I think this is going to be an interesting period of time because we're going to look on it afterwards as that moment that Metroid took a big leap, and a lot more people came to love the franchise. I think this is what's going to happen to Metroid. Many of you may be sleeping on it now. Many of you may be excited at the idea. Many of you may want to play Metroid, but just don't think it makes sense. But this is the direction I am leaning in. I think the rumors of Metroid Prime 4 being the launch title might just have some real weight here. And the reasoning behind this is that not only will Metroid be a bigger deal than some people are expecting, but it will also have other titles coming out alongside of it. Switch Sports Resort, another quality Nintendo game that will sell millions as time goes on, but there will also be a big focus on third-party games, something like a Call of Duty, maybe a Monster Hunter Wilds, maybe an Elden Ring, maybe Witcher 4. And so there's going to be some big deal third-party games coming out alongside the Switch 2 and Metroid Prime 4 and Switch Sports. So it's going to be a healthy, strong lineup in June, but then right afterwards, July and beyond, there are going to be other bigger deal games that will be coming out, some of which include big Mario titles, but I will not be talking about that until Phase 2 for my 2025 predictions. However, I'm not entirely done with my predictions for Phase 1 here. I think I should probably say a little bit more about the Switch 2. I'm going to predict that by this point in time, during this first half of the year, I'm not quite sure when, but there will be a price drop for the Switch 1 family of systems. And so once the Switch 2 comes out at its price point for what I will predict will be $399.99 USD, it will seem like a healthy gap between the Switch OLED, which I would predict would be at least at $300 USD, if not even lesser, perhaps $250. If you account for inflation, that's basically how much the Switch costed back in 2017 when it launched, so I think this is actually the sweet spot. And despite Nintendo's best efforts putting out as many consoles as they can, it will still sell out early on, although there will be shipments coming in soon after, so if you stay persistent, you will be able to get a Switch 2 within that first month or two fairly easy. And one more thing I'll say here is that while we usually get a big June Nintendo Direct, this time around, I don't think there will be a big June Direct. I think that presentation will happen a little bit later into the summer. Nintendo will be too focused on the launch of the Switch 2 and all the marketing behind that. We will have a bigger presentation to learn about other things coming to Switch 2 a little bit later. Of course, the industry will not stop for Nintendo. We usually get a lot of third-party announcements during this period of time in June. That will still be the case regarding third-party stuff, but the first-party stuff, as I've been saying, we'll have to wait a little bit later into the summer. And those are my predictions for the first half of Nintendo's 2025. Stay tuned for Phase 2 for my predictions. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.